Welcome everybody back to another BOLDcast One Piece reaction. I'm Carson.
I'm Lindsay.
The Moby Dick has entered the fray. It is about to go down. Leave a like, subscribe, check out Patreon. Let's go. Oh geez, oh geez. Whoa, 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 whoa.
It does just go away.
That's good to know. There's more. But they're black on the top. Oh, okay. The other division commanders. 14. He has 14 divisions? Gee, I didn't think there was that many. It's the man himself. Oh, jeez. He has like a naginata type instrument. Wonder if it's Wazumono. Shirohige.
You vastly underestimated him. Oh. It's like, you knew that the whole time?
Are you, wait, he actually knew that the whole time? How are, what? How did you know that?
So good at keeping secrets.
No way he knew that the whole time.
I guess if Ace knew and he was just a kid, he probably told him.
Yeah. But how would he know? Why would Garp tell Ace? Conqueror? He's about to knock
Just
out all the
knocks
fodder.
everyone out.
What?
He's just gonna drown them all?
This is what I just said! This is literally what I'm just like, we need a tsunami!
Sea quake. Kobe and Hamapa are like, why are we here?
Imagine his prime.
Yeah. Yeah, this is him when he's like old. Like, I was just like, I'm leaving.
Spade pirates.
You could have raised him yourself, Garp, but you didn't. You dumped him off with some guy, and now look what happened.
Have we seen that ship before with the frog?
It was reminiscent of that one with the frog that we saw, I think, right before Brook. Wow.
He was already offered? Hmm. That's fun. I always wondered if they knew each other before. I thought they would have known each other before. So he wanted to be the next king before Whitebeard. Ooh.
So he goes up against Whitebeard and then just decides to follow him instead. I could have been one of those.
Because he protects Fishman Island.
My God, just attacked Jinbei.
Can we? Why don't we just have like a 12 episode run?
5 days.
of just this. Wow. He beat Jinbei?
In a 5-day battle?
He probably recognizes him right here.
You're still alive?
Mm-hmm.
It's very interesting that he did want to be king of the pirates.
Yeah. So much interesting stuff. So much interesting stuff. That's the guy who died.
You're gonna join us, whether you want to or not. You're on our boat.
He's got that same eye scar. Really?
At least try and do your assassinations during the day, for God's sake.
What a bother. Oh my god. I love that he has nurses. Oh! He's dead. He just tried to kill our captain. Somebody help him, for God's sake.
Did you just get Stockholm Syndrome? Is that what happened?
I think maybe he just realized that, like, he's not good enough to be king of the pirates. Maybe it's kind of sad like that. Marco. Doma. He's there now. Vacant post for a long time. Kuroige. And cherry pies.
Right.
This is such an incredible episode, by the way.
Tell him. Wow,
I was so wrong.
What?
About the cucking of Roger's legacy. I thought that he brought him on because of that, but it's more wholesome than that. It's just he's just a good guy. Had nothing to do with that at all.
Ew. It eats the whole bone.
The S is already crossed out on his name.
I assume that he just did that while he was getting it.
I thought that it was like Thatch, because Thatch is like an S sound in Japanese. Like for the TH. This is when his ambition, he's like, I have no such... Yeah. This is when he's like, my ambitions can become a reality. I can do more. If only I get this fruit. Kill Thatch. Wow. Murder him. With a smile on his face.
Mm. Mm.
So crazy. Is that what he meant by an exception? He was like...
It's interesting because in the scene where Shanks goes on Whitebeard's ship, Whitebeard is acting like, oh yeah, like I completely sanctioned this. I sent him off to go and get him. I'm deciding that this is the right time for all of this to go down. But, you know, he's like, oh, I had a really bad feeling about this. You don't have to go. Like, he's not ordering him, don't go. But he's like, you don't have to, because then it spirals out of control. And
I think, like, he said, unless there's something else, then I think he's saying that, like, he said, oh, this is an exception, as in not, you know, you normally would tell people to stay and, like,
oh, I took it as an exception, as in normally this person would be tracked down and killed, but it's an exception. You don't have to go and track him down and kill him because
That's what I thought too, but then he's saying it at the end like it's a reveal. So I think that it's the other way. It's because it was vague the way that he said it, and I think that, you know, Ace took it a certain way, everybody took it a certain way, but he was really, by saying it's an exception, he was actually giving him leave to go, unless he's taking responsibility for him going and for this because he, I don't know, didn't act in the way that he wanted, or he took responsibility after, like you said, like when you, you know, when Shanks comes along, is like, don't do this. He's like, I trust him, even though he has this itching feeling that it's maybe not right. Anyway, we'll find out in the next episode as far as that goes. But this episode was great. The fact that Whitebeard doesn't, I put so much of my perception of what he was. I don't know how intentional it was by Oda, or if I was reading too much into it, so I can't even say. That's why I'm saying, like, I'm pressing this because I'm not saying it's like, oh, well, what a big change, you know, like, oh, he must have shifted focus. This isn't like that. It's just, I don't know whether I was supposed to think that because of the story, because Oda put those breadcrumbs there for me to think
or
that. Or
you just made...
Or I'm leaping in logic. But regardless, the idea that you would think that's what he was doing, and then it turns out that he really does just care, is such a different idea. Because, like, here's where my mind goes before all this, is that Whitebeard and Roger are, like, rivals. If Roger is, like, the good pirate, right? He's like the king of the pirates. He's the one who won. He's the one who's rewarded by fate to have this position. He's kind of like Luffy, you know, he's got a big heart and, like, does what's right. He's not necessarily, like, a good guy, quote unquote, but, like, yeah, he is the good guy. Then there's his rival. Usually that's like a Vegeta figure or like a Lancer type perspective. So, like, you would think he's known as the strongest. So it's like, is strength all he cares about? Is dominance all he cares about? There's certain conventions with that kind of position of an archetype in a story that I was really slotting him into. But I really like the fact that he, as far as we know, maybe we'll learn more as this goes along, and he will actually slot into that sort of archetype. But I get the idea right now that he just cares. Yeah. And he, you know, which is not what I expected at all from him based on where his place is in the story.
And I think also at the time, I'm not sure when Whitebeard was introduced, but I remember earlier on, there's an example of someone like Don Krieg, who has, like, a bunch of ships and a bunch of guys and, like, this huge bloated crew. And then we find out, okay, Whitebeard has, like, 1 million ships and 1 million subordinates and 1 million guys under him. And it's just like, okay, well, we know that Roger had, like, one small, fiercely loyal crew.
Exactly.
So the opposite of that would be a way too big crew. And we find out like there's people.
Crocodile as well. Crocodile who took ownership of a place, had Baroque works and all this whole enterprise and all these different leaders under him.
Yeah, so I think part of that is like
the
expectation of what we've seen so far is people who have a lot of crew often don't care about them as much. They're often expendable, or they don't get to know them personally. But yeah, judging by the way that it seems like they go around and they like beat people up and then are like, join me because you put up a fight and I like that about you and I want you on my crew. But it seems like that they are. It's just more genuine than I would have thought, and they care about each other more genuinely than I would have imagined. Given
unless it's front, and he did know about Ace's background, and he did, or at least he guessed it because he saw his like wanted poster and him in the newspaper before. So like maybe it's a front, and he actually so he reminds me a lot of Griffith. He's got not only the white hair but also the how everybody like looks up to him like that, and how he reaches, join me, Ace. Join me, Ace. He beats him in a fight and then he like forces him to join him. Very similar thing. So maybe there is like a sinister kind of underbelly to it where he calls everybody his sons and all this type of shit, but it's all like they're just my tools. I don't actually think of them as friends because they're not. The only person I really thought of as a friend was Roger because he was the only one on my level type thing. Maybe they're setting up for that type of thing, and this, all of the expectations that we had on him are there. It's just that he's not public about it, and and he uses people's emotion to their advantage. I could see something like that. But I'd be equally as interested in him if it were just this. If it were just this, this level of quote unquote depth. I don't see it as like this deep or that deep, but this level of development. If he is just a genuine benevolent leader that is a good example to his people and takes them under his wing, then But this does kind of remind me of Berserk. He's even got the pointy ears here. Kind of weirded me out. Yeah,
it's
very cool. It's very good. It's very like the relationships I feel like make sense.
Well, it like also makes sense why Ace. It's also interesting though because like we see Ace now and he's like, I hate Roger. Whitebeard's my only father. I don't want to be king of the pirates. I want Whitebeard to be the king of the pirates. And I had just kind of assumed that was like his always thing. Like he never had ambitions to be king of the pirates.
That's an interesting turn as well, yeah.
So finding out, but then we did hear that we had his own crew, but it was like, was that just him like starting out, this and that? Like he never really wanted to be the captain, but he wanted to go out on the sea. But no, he was interested. He went out, he found Shanks. And like, I'm sure that the journey to find Shanks would be pretty difficult,
yes.
Like depending just
by
the level
looks of it.
The level that we know that Shanks is at, the place, if Shanks is hiding out in this like mountainous cave, he's probably there for a reason, unless he's just doing like
here's the thing, that's exactly what we saw was just Mihawk doing the same thing. Like it's funny that just like whenever we need to find Shanks, he's just on some remote fucking island,
like he's just hanging out,
drinking. But like that's all he does.
But
it's just kind of funny.
I guess what it shows is like Ace clearly over time, and I don't know if that's just because Whitebeard even says like I wouldn't have suspected Roger was your father because you're so different from him. And I wonder if Ace kind of realized that about himself and was just like, this is someone who is a leader. I'm not really a leader. And it's like, did he give up on his dreams, or did his dreams evolve to
I wonder what he means by like by different. What does he mean by different than like how would our perception of Roger isn't entirely filled out, obviously, but like how would Ace be different than the perspective that we have on Roger so far?
Maybe
I'd say
Roger,
that he's angry.
Yeah, he's angry, but maybe also Roger wasn't the kind of guy to think, oh, here's a person, I need to beat them to prove to the world that I'm better. Because Luffy, because here's the thing, because Blackbeard did the same thing. Ace is strong, I need to beat Ace, or I need to beat Luffy, then decides, oh, Ace is here, I need to beat him, and then I will be better than, I guess the thing is Luffy defeats people that are in his path as an obstacle.
Yeah.
But not necessarily he doesn't overthrow the government to overthrow the government. He overthrows the government because they've kidnapped his friend.
Yeah.
And like, that's what's important to him. He's not thinking like, oh, I'll do this and then I can be offered a warlord and then I can do what I want. That's like, that is so, like...
But what does that mean for Ace? What are you saying?
I guess what I'm saying is like, I guess what I was trying to say is that Ace and Blackbeard, like Blackbeard I think is more like Luffy, but he does have that little bit of I'm gonna plan to do this to achieve this, rather than Luffy's just fully going with the flow.
Yeah, but that's exactly, I don't think that Ace has that in him. He's clearly, like you said, he's not really a leader, like a big leader. He's very strong and he cares deeply about his friends, but he doesn't have that like seeming that foresight. Or I guess Luffy doesn't either, to be fair, but it's, you know, I don't know. He's not shit on Ace. I like Ace. Yeah, I don't know. Great episode. I'm really interested to see the layers that are going to peel back from Whitebeard, if there are any. If he is more of a Griffith, if he is more of a, you know, or if he is just like a actual genuine father figure, you know, like if...
Well, especially if he's gonna get like potentially killed in this fight, him being like a genuinely good guy would be...
If he was gonna survive, there'd probably be more layers, but like, yeah, if he's just going to die and sacrifice himself for Ace to hopefully live, then yeah, I could see him just being that type of dude, because it's also just really wholesome. You know, this is like something that One Piece does, where other series go for like the more dramatic thing. One Piece will usually go for the more wholesome bit of drama. You know, like, yeah, he gave Ace a like a home, and that's it. And it's not, you know, he wasn't just collecting Pokemon cards so that he could be the strongest badass guy and like prove that he's better than Roger. He actually, you know, he was a rival to Roger because he genuinely saw him as like Roger's equal. He just had different aspirations or a different way of approaching things. I could see it going either way, and I'd be satisfied with either one, because he's built up really strongly and really well so far. Yeah, I think I'm excited, but I was going to say something else, but I forgot what it was. No, I just forgot what it was going to be. This episode was like incredible. This is one of the best episodes.
Jinbei for 5 days straight.
Yeah, good power scaling with that. Now we know, like, you know, what level Ace is at his best. You know, we saw in relation to Blackbeard, but they were both kind of an unknown level of power at their peak. You know, against each other, that means something, but like, we can't measure it against anything outside of that. So it gives us, now that we've seen Jinbei, we have kind of an idea now about Ace's power level, and you know, obviously he's not, and then we see Whitebeard's power level at the start here when he like breaks the air.
Yeah.
So like, that's like peak power level, which, so, you know, Ace is below that, obviously. Jinbei and Ace are like neck and neck.
Yeah.
That gives us, it's filling out this kind of network. That's what good power scaling is. It fills out this network of power levels so that we can kind of like match up who has what advantage, and then, you know, how the story plays out from there. But what Whitebeard's thing also does, power scaling wise, when he cracks the air and is showing just his level of overwhelming strength, we can kind of think about, first of all, the admirals, which are the other like highest power level that we can expect. Is he above that? You know, I think the idea is that he's maybe slightly above that. How would he measure up to Kizaru? We don't even know Akainu. We know Aokiji. Maybe they're kind of in the Ace realm or slightly higher than them, but below Whitebeard.
Yeah.
We don't entirely know. Obviously, Blackbeard is like kind of his own separate thing because of his fruit that like nullifies anything anyone else does. What this also does with Whitebeard showing this and, you know, giving us an idea for how overwhelmingly strong he is with this attack. What it's also doing is showing Shanks is their equals. You know, when Shanks went on the ship, the whole point of it was to show Whitebeard is the strongest, quote unquote. He's known as the strongest, but he's also old and he's on like dialysis and shit. Shanks is like the other emperor. He's probably, they're probably on a similar level.
Yeah.
But it's unknown which of them, based on current circumstances, would be the best.
If Whitebeard's having a bad day health-wise, Shanks having a really good day. And I guess it is because, there's 4 emperors, right? And so my thoughts are like, the admirals and the emperors are like on similar level.
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
I don't think any of the admirals are on this level.
Well, I'm saying like they're like the closest. I think that like Whitebeard is okay, so we have like normal pirates, we have like the warlords, and warlords seem to be at like Ace, and like the warlords are around the same, depending on which one they can go above.
In theory.
But they're like within like a similar realm, and depending on devil fruits, because like there's power level, and then there's like people who have a specific devil fruit that like gives them a certain advantage, like Blackbeard.
The title's supposed to mean something, but you have to kind of ignore everything that happened with Crocodile, what the series was like at that point, what this all kind of means. Yeah. So warlords, and then admirals and emperors.
And admirals, vice admirals, I think, are supposed to be like just
below warlord, I would say.
Below warlord, but like within like a similar realm, like between.
I mean, we see the vice admiral that was with, or no, not vice admiral. Yeah, used to like Garp rank. You mean?
Yeah. But we also know that Garp specifically, we haven't seen his full abilities, and he should have been an admiral. And then that way it would be also interesting, because then there would essentially be 4 admirals and 4 emperors, and they're all kind of on a similar realm. And I imagine by the time we get to the other 2 emperors, things are going to be different, but like just to lay
Kaido and then one other one.
Just to like lay it out kind of for this fight. Those are the realms, but right now we only have 1 emperor here, and it's Whitebeard, 3 admirals, which I think are lower than Whitebeard, but there's 3 of them. And we don't know what Akaino's devil fruit is. We don't know what Whitebeard just did this, but we don't know.
Do we even know if he has the devil fruit?
We don't.
We know Shanks doesn't, for example, so like high powerful emperor doesn't have a devil fruit, so maybe he doesn't, but we have no idea. But it seems like maybe he has like the sea fruit, and that's why he's all talking about like children of the sea. Like he has the one devil fruit that can control water.
Yeah, it's like if Roger's king of the pirates, and he's king of the ocean. Yeah, not
Yeah, which I think they've actually said that at one point, if I understand properly, but.
So
it also this thing, Jinbei is always talking about how we said this episode how he owes a lot to Whitebeard. Obviously that's relating to Whitebeard claiming Fishman Island under his protection so that the world government doesn't fuck with it because they're afraid of what he'll do to retaliate. But the way that he's calling the sea like this, it reminds me of when Jinbei did that move outside of just recently, like when they were escaping. I don't know if that is, it's Fishman karate, I think, but there might be some kind of relationship there.
If Whitebeard could combine,
or if Jinbei learned, I think Jinbei probably learned from Fisher Tiger. I think that was like the one from the Sun Pirates.
Yeah.
I don't know. What are you gonna say? Combined.
I was gonna say like how in Avatar, for example, you can take like sort of the maneuvers of like one bending style and use them to another bending style. Right. So if say they learn from each other, or like say it was a similar technique but used in a different way. Yeah. Kind of I don't know.
I don't know. I think that what this is showing is just that he's so strong that he can like, he can move faster than reality. He's like breaking the sound barrier, where he's like moving at light speed type thing without a light speed fruit. Or there's some kind of I think that this effect of breaking the air and like causing mayhem this way is I don't know. We'll have to see, but it's definitely very interesting. What else was I going to say about Shanks? So we were just talking about power scaling with warlords and emperors and all that type of shit. And so Shanks was brought back up in this episode. It's interesting to me that, in the time that Shanks was coming back and forth to see Luffy, that Ace never met Shanks. That's kind of surprising to me.
I think it was implied that the last time that Luffy saw Shanks was before Luffy came to meet Ace, because he already had the hat when he showed up. So I'm thinking that Luffy's final meeting with Shanks, and then Garp is like, all right, you're coming with me to go with Ace. Okay. And then Luffy's just yapping about Shanks all the time, but he hasn't seen him since that point.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Why the fuck would Garp tell Ace that he's Roger's son? Why would he do that? Maybe it was maybe he didn't. Maybe it was let slip by Dodon or whoever that person is.
Or maybe Ace figured, maybe being kept in the womb for an extra year gained him sentience while he was in there, and he was able, like, I don't know what like, yeah, someone must have told him. I guess there's a couple ways to look at it. You could look at it of like, okay, we shouldn't tell him because that's just asking for trouble.
Well, he didn't want him to be a pirate. Why would you tell him that his father is the king of the pirates if you didn't want him to be a pirate?
Or maybe it was trying to be like, because we know that Ace, well, at least at this point.
Oh, I'm dumb. No, I'm dumb. Sorry. His mom named him Ace D. Roger, right?
Goldie Ace.
Yeah, sorry. Goldie Ace. Yeah, so he would know. Never mind. I'm dumb as shit. Sorry for questioning that. Yeah, so he and Garp would honor the naming.
Yes.
So he would have no choice but to say, and then Ace renounced him.
Yes.
My bad. That's totally my bad on that. Sorry. But I was bringing that up because, okay, so we're getting an idea of Emperor level strength. We see Shanks. And what I was going to talk about with all the Warlord level strength, how, people have been saying things about us because we aren't caught up with the story. They've been upset that we don't put respect on Warlord's names. Warlord as a title is the most flimsy thing logically. However, if if you take out Crocodile, it's different because, okay, this is all leading to a big thing. Basically, it's that, like, the power scaling with Warlords has been fucked up because of how early and with no abilities Luffy beat Crocodile. Despite the fact that Crocodile is supposed to be, a Warlord is supposed to be much stronger than what Crocodile put on there. There are, if you want to get into what is now, we are informed to be the Crocomom theory, it could be that Crocodile knew who Luffy was and was going easy on him, even though he tried to kill Luffy.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And I think you can play it as just Luffy outsmarted him and had a tactic that he.
It doesn't make any fucking sense at all if you factor in Haki, if you factor in the power of devilfruit that he had. And more importantly, just the level, the gravitas and the level of Warlord that a Warlord is supposed to be. If you factor in all those factors and what we're supposed to believe Warlords are supposed to be now, he's severely underpowered given that, because of the scope of what One Piece was as a series at that point, and everything that was incorporated, and what, Luffy didn't have power-ups and shit and things to use like that. So I'm bringing this up because we're getting Emperor level strength. Emperor level strength is what Shanks is supposed to have, right? So Shanks got his arm bitten off by to say Emperor level strength, that's one thing. To see this and to see how freaked out everybody is by this display of power, and that Shanks is probably on the similar, if not the same level as Whitebeard here. Then him getting his arm cut off is a choice, and we brought that up before, but I'm bringing it up again because we're seeing this, and again, why I'm bringing up the Crocodile thing is because similarly to the scope of the series at the time when Crocodile was introduced versus what we're supposed to put on his name, on the Warlord name now, despite the fact that everyone in the Warlords is a varied level of power, we're supposed to put them on a higher pedestal because of the Warlord status. This is my point. So then, but because of, at the time, Warlord, Crocodile was meant to be beaten at that earlier juncture, it kind of fucks with that whole thing. Similarly, when Shanks get his arm bitten off, at the scope that the series was at the time, I don't know. We've talked about Shanks, like, scaring off the Sea King or whatever at the time. Now that's a Conqueror's Haki thing. Before it was just him maybe being badass. Maybe it was Conqueror's Haki. We don't entirely know all of that type of stuff. But writing-wise, before it could have been either. Now it's a choice. That's what all of this I'm trying to say. before all this stuff, before seeing Whitebeard, before Conqueror's Hockey, before all that thing, it was unclear how much Shanks was planning that, or if it was similar to, like, say, Hunter x Hunter was started around the same time. You know, Kite showing up. It's a very similar figure, voiced by the same guy, by the way, the same voice actor, shows up. Oh, your father was a hunter. Oh, I'm a pirate. This is what being a pirate's about. It's about your friends, blah, 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 all the type of shit. Sacrifices himself. Instead, Kite sacrifices his, like, his ideal of not killing, because Kite doesn't want to kill. He's very against killing, but he sacrifices that, and in this, like, kind of moment of bonding with them, and with Gon. It's a similar kind of setup. So before, it was unclear whether Shanks was, did he, like, scare off the Sea King afterwards, just, like, give it a look as he saved Luffy, and then that's, you see what I'm saying? Before, it was a choice whether, or it was from a writer's perspective, it could have been either. It was ambiguous. Now, because of the way that the series has progressed and the scope of everything that has expanded, it has to have been a choice, right? Because if Shanks can do the type of shit that Whitebeard's doing here, I don't see in what universe he would get bested by a Sea King. Because we just saw the Vice Admiral outside of Amazon Lily completely obliterate a Sea King. I forget his name. That was with Bo Hancock.
Yeah.
I'm not saying, I feel like a couple things that I said here might have sounded like very critical of the series. That's not actually what I'm trying to do at all. I'm trying to, like, update our perspective of how strong everybody is, how everything kind of fits together, what the levels of different people are at, because these are all intentional things that have evolved over time that are, like, expectations set by the story, because they're going to be changed or shuffled around, just like they were this episode. Like, adding Whitebeard's thing there, just as a show of force, it, like, locks into place, like, a million different levels of strength and like so much context for how everything works. So I don't mean to sound, I'm not, I hope that nobody takes what I'm saying the wrong way at all. I'm just going through everything. So that it's just interesting to think about all that stuff. It puts into it, seeing this just this episode puts into so much context, like so much other things outside of, and that's all, most of the things we talk about were just power scaling. But I think it's because we knew a lot of the stuff up to this point through bits and pieces, like especially with Thatch, Ace, Blackbeard. It was, I'll just speak about that. The assassinations on Whitebeard were super funny. Yeah. It reminds me of Thorfinn and Ashgalad. Yeah. Very similar story. This one's a little bit more wholesome, maybe, not. I mean, Ashgalad didn't kill Ace's dad. Yeah. I think. But he's there, he's trying to, like, assassinate him, trying to, like, always ask him for a duel, like how Thorfinn would always ask for duels as a kid and stuff like that, until he eventually found himself just kind of there without that. But, the turnaround here. And, yeah, okay, so that was a really long power scaling talk. Sorry about that for people who don't give a shit. Leave a like, subscribe. We'll see you next time, Carson. I'm Lindsay. Bye-bye.